Does USCIS hate gay people? Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States at our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. You know, our office loves to work with same-sex couples. We work on LGBTQ cases all the time. We really enjoy working with that client base. The cases are always interesting. We like working with our clients, and we've had really good success in filing many of those cases. You know, we were one of the first people and one of the first law firms to file a same-sex petition after the Obergefell decision came out in 2015. So we're going to talk about all that today. This all came to a head to me yesterday when I was having a very nice meeting with a same-sex couple, two lovely young ladies from an area where one of our offices is located, and I was talking to them about the whole marriage process, and I was laying it out for them start to finish. And here, you know, USCIS has been accepting same-sex petitions for only 7 or 8 years. The Obergefell decision came down in 2015, and before that, if you can believe it, just 8 or 9 years ago, if you're in a same-sex relationship, you could not get an immigration benefit. Right now, that seems so ordinary and so customary, but really, it wasn't that long ago. It was during the Obama administration, and when the Supreme Court struck down the Defense of Marriage Act in the Obergefell decision, that same-sex couples were for the first time able to file. And, you know, I have a really interesting story about that and about how we filed the very first same-sex petition in the Eastern District of Missouri. So I had a couple come to see me around 2014. They were visiting from overseas. It was a U.S. citizen named Kirk and his partner named Jordan. Now, they weren't married at the time because at the time you couldn't legally get married in the state of Missouri. And Kirk was from Missouri. And they had met in Singapore and were living there. And they came to the United States on a visit, and they said, Jim, they came and met with me at the old office, and they said, could we ever file for an immigration benefit for Jordan if we were able to go to Iowa or get married? And I said, well, you know, right now USCIS would not honor that petition because of the Defense of Marriage Act. The Defense of Marriage Act was a law that was passed by a bunch of conservative Republicans that sort of boldly stood for marriage between one man and one woman. And because of that federal statute, it didn't really matter what happened at the state level. So even though Iowa and some other states had recognized same-sex marriages, for federal purposes, the IRS, USCIS, those were not recognized. And so you could not file an immigration benefit. So I had to tell Kirk and Jordan, hey, you guys, I would love to help you. I'd love to file your case, but the law simply won't allow me to do that. Now, right now in 2022, this seems like a total head scratcher. It seems like another time ago. I mean, when we were in law school, we studied this case called Loving versus Virginia, which is where the Supreme Court struck down a law that prevented white people and black people from getting married. This was in the 50s or 60s. So, you know, in some ways we've come a long way, but in a lot of ways we haven't. So the fact that just 8 years ago, a same-sex couple couldn't exercise the same rights as everybody else, that pisses me off. So I was looking for the chance to ever, if possible, file that application for Kirk and Jordan. Now, truth be told, I got a little busy. I stopped thinking about it. And you know, that case, the Obergefell case, was making its way through the courts. And I was paying attention to it, but I didn't know on the day that it was decided that it had been decided. And I didn't know that the Defense of Marriage Act had been struck down. That is, I didn't know that the Supreme Court ruled in favor of same-sex couples, and then that was going to lay the groundwork for allowing applications at USCIS to move forward based on a same-sex marriage. So I was in my office, and Kirk called and talked to Adela and said, hey, I need to talk to Jim. And so I picked up the phone. He said, they struck it down. They struck it down. I said, who is this? He said, this is Kirk. They struck down the Defense of Marriage Act. And he was super excited. He and Jordan were visiting again in the United States, and so they decided to go ahead and get married, and we decided to file for an immigration benefit. So we filed for a green card for Jordan. Now, that case worked its way through the application process. You know, typical, you file the application, you get fingerprinted. Jordan got his work card. Then we got scheduled for his interview. Now, in St. Louis, back in this time, there was one officer who was very, very Catholic. And he was very religious and very devout. And of course, he's the officer we got for this application. Now, in all honesty, he was super nervous. He did not like being in this room. He was sort of feeling sort of weird. You could tell he was sort of tense. But he also knew that he didn't want to mess with us. And he also knew that he was being watched and that he better do the right thing. So I will say one thing that really did make me angry during that interview, for the very first time in my entire career as an immigration lawyer, the officer asked the beneficiary whether he'd ever engaged in prostitution. Now, I had never had them ask that of anyone applying for a green card before, and I think it was singled out because it was a same-sex situation and he was just being rude. Of course, the client had not participated in prostitution, and his case got approved. So that was one of the first times that a client of ours took me and one of the other lawyers in our office, Jennifer, who worked on the case, out to lunch. That was great. I have that picture in my office from the lunch for all four of us. And Jordan is now a U.S. citizen, and he's one of my favorite people. We keep in touch. He when he lived in St. Louis, he would run into my dad from time to time and tell my dad how awesome I was, which was always fun. My dad would sort of giggle that this little Singaporean man was telling him how great his son was. But anyway, fast forward to yesterday. Here we are 7 years later after Obergefell, and I forget. As a white dude, I forget what it's like to be gay in the United States. I forget what it's like to be different. And even though I talk to people from all over the world in all kinds of situations, I forget that it's so much easier for me to walk through the world as a white dude than it is for same-sex couples. And so here I was meeting with this very lovely couple, both college educated, very nice, very sweet, asked all the right questions, totally legit relationship. I could tell just by talking to them. And they're scared. They're scared. Here in 2022, they're scared. And again, you know what? That pisses me off. And it makes me sad. It makes me sad that, we have to live in this world, that people are still worried about that there's still a chance Congress gets taken over by Republicans and Donald Trump gets reelected or Ron DeSantis gets elected, and gay people have to worry about whether or not their marriage, their love is going to be honored in the years to come. So it shook me up last night. It bothered me when I got home thinking about the fact that here we are, totally legit relationship. They should have every rights as everybody else. And so it makes me upset, but it also makes me proud to work on these kinds of cases and to give that extra bit of fight to these kinds of cases, because we want to get them approved, and we want to get them approved as fast as we can. So we're looking forward to hopefully working with that couple. They were very sweet. I know they're watching this video because they told me they watch all of our videos, and I think they'll get a kick out of the fact that I mentioned them today. But anyway, in any event, if you have a same-sex couple or a heterosexual couple case and you want our help filing a green card, that's what we do here. We do green card cases all day long. It's our favorite kind of case to work on. We have a very good team, whether the couple's overseas or whether they're here, whether it's same-sex or not, we can get the case filed as strongly as possible, put you in the best position to win. And so if you want to work with us, give us a call, 314-961-8200. You can always email us to info@hackingimmigrationlaw.com. Those are the best ways to get a hold of us if you're thinking about hiring us. If you're not so interested in hiring us, or if you think you can't afford us, or there's some other reason we're not going to be able to move forward, go ahead and check out our YouTube channel. We have hundreds of videos just like this one that we update a few times a week. We also have our Immigration Answers Live show in there several times a week, where I'm just answering people's questions every single day. And then in our Facebook group, it's called Immigrant Home. We'd love to have you there, meet you there, hear about your immigration situation, see what questions you have, and see if we can help. So with that, I hope you all have a great day, and thanks for watching.